So I'm not exactly sure how we got here. Maybe it was like the full moon in Leo that supercharged me, because somehow I dissolved into this hyper-focused like fugue state, and when I awokened I had created 3 different looks for Mr. Lavos Prime in the span of one night. Not because I felt like I needed to, but because I really, really wanted to. It was very, very weird. Regardless, hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is Rob, your local problematic Leo, and today on Dress to Kill, we're going to be taking a look at Lavos Prime. Now, I do need to talk about a lot of different things in this video. We're going to be talking about like different stances, because he's got a weird wonky one. We're going to be talking about ephemera. That's the right word, right? Listen, it's been a long night. I've hit the gym. I have yet to eat anything. So, without ado, let's get dressed. Look at me being on time with color customizations, right? I even pulled doubles in the gym yesterday. Who even am I right now? Regardless, before we jump on in, we always kick things off with a little bit of a disclaimer. You're going to be able to find all of the color codes for these customizations down in the description box below. R stands for row, C stands for column. The palette name will be in there. I am trusting the rest to your common sense. If you can't figure it out yourself, I don't know, ask someone in the comments. Regardless, let's go ahead and jump on in. As you can see, we are kicking things off with my basic bitch Lavos. You guys know we're gonna go ahead and roll with one of these color stories, right? However, I have actually been straying away from C3R3 rose gold. I've been wanting a little bit rosierness in the gold. I'm not sure if maybe they did something to the lighting. Wait, let me double check that before I say anything. Yes, I am actually doing something a little bit different, but it's in the same ballpark, so don't be shocked. You can adjust if you want a little bit more of the classic color. Now, I do want to talk about a couple things before we actually get into the customization in and of itself. One of the big things that I'm going to beg you to do is to adjust the animation set for your Lavos. Now, I love the snakes that come out during the Lavos Noble animation set when he's using his primary, because literally the snakes like slither around him. It's kind of freaking crazy, and it was really sad to lose that. I was very tempted to actually stay in that set, but it's like weird. He's like hunched forward, his head is at a weird angle, his shoulder is that it didn't seem right. I'm gonna back it up again. Like, look. Doesn't he look more like epic, like more bad bitch that way? The only thing that I can't stand is I don't like how his coat kind of like flops off to one side, but also it's kind of like giving asymmetrical baddie. I don't know. This is the Mesa Noble animation set. If you want to cut down on that a little bit, I do want to go ahead and say that you can use the Umbra Excalibur one. I don't even know if is it here? Where is it? It's like somewhere. Some Excalibur Umbra. Where is it? He's here, I swear. Here it is. Somewhere here. I like the Noble. There's something about it that feels like just more normal. Like it's a little less sassy, but I feel like the stance is better. There's like multiple different stances that you can use for him. I just feel like for some reason there's something about like that base one that just doesn't look like right. I even like the Nidus one a lot too, but I feel like it's a little too angular. Like, look, that like head shape just looks so much better with the Nidus Noble animation set, and you don't get as much of the angularity. As much of the angularity. I don't know where that came from, but with the Mesa one, so that's kind of like a little halfway charge if you want to do that. I love the Zevagoth one as always. That one looks good too, but I kind of felt like, you know, I don't know. There's just some sort of sass that comes with the Mesa Noble animation set that I really like. So I beg of you, that will probably solve some of your customization problems straight out of the gates by just changing the animation set. Because his base animation, I don't know. I love the snakes, but I don't know what that is. Now, as you can tell, this is kind of like my magical girl set. I really wanted to do something light and bright, But this also points out a couple of very interesting things about the Lavos Prime customization. You can see there on his inner thighs, I know we're getting a little dirty, and like on the insides kind of like of his arms right around here, it is a set dark gray. That dark gray is a little bit on the cooler side, so it's more of like a blue gray. I don't know, does it change? No, it really does not change with anything as far as I'm aware. Like the tonality of it does not change. So do keep that in mind when you're doing your customizations. There's always going to be some darkness there. So with that, I felt like that anchored everything enough for me to do two light, the primary and the secondary. You can see I went in with my off-whites to kind of like give a little depth, a little bit of texture. But the big thing that I wanted to do was add a splash of color into the tertiary. So I went with this kind of like cool regal blue, and I went with this almost like magical girl kind of look. I don't know what it is, but it's the specific set of the Conquest Ephemera, and then of course the Maganav the Maganav Signa. I think that they really pair well together, and they just feel a little magical girlness. Now I will put this out there. This is, I'm not going to list this I don't want to list too many things, but for the emissive, if you wanted to change this, because I know the very first look, a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but enough people that I made mental note of it were asking me for the color combo. It's actually a flipped version, so I actually went more with like a pinky tone, so we're using the Easter palette on this one, but I would actually swap over to like maybe, let's just do it right here. We're just crossing our fingers that this is going to look good. And then we're going to go into attachments and we're going to copy that over. So it's more of like this cotton candy vibe. You can kind of see in the canisters. You can adjust the pink a little bit more if you want to go ahead and make it a little pinker. We're leaning on the purplier side, but that is a shade that if you want to get into that, you can go ahead and get into that. However, I am going to point out something. I know we're talking a mile a minute, but this is important things here, okay? The first, I think it's an energy. I'm not sure. No, it looks like it's an emissive. It looks like maybe it's an, I don't know where it is. But one of these, of the first shades, will dictate the colors of the actual tubercles. I'm going to pop out real quick so that you guys can see it a little closer. You can see the color of the tubies, the actual glass, has its own shade. So if, you know, you're wondering what is going to be like dictating that color, it is going to be, it's either energy one or emissive one. So just keep that in mind when you are doing your customizations if you need that information. So we've gone over stances, we've gone over 2B colors and energy colors. Let's go ahead and take a look at our second look, and we'll talk about armor sets. Now, oh, baby, I wanted to go dark with this one. I really did want to go dark. And maybe this one should have the Nidus animation set. But, you know, in terms, I really wanted to highlight the neck. And I wanted to do something like, I don't know if you guys remember my customization for Zephyr Prime when she went into her, like, Dark Crow era. Oh, I loved it. So I wanted to kind of do something like that here. But the one thing I will say, and this is what I always talk about when I talk about armor pieces. You want to make sure that your armor, when you put it on, number one, it serves a purpose, that it changes the shape of the body. I don't like putting on armor that just does nothing. It just sits there. It's just an additional piece that you put on because you want an additional piece. I like things that like give shape to the body. Now, I know that the, what do you call this? What is this thing called? The auxiliary things, the arterial tubes, the auxiliary set. Some people don't like it, some people do like it. I kind of absolutely loved it with the AO specs shoulder plates because it's got this like circular thing to it. So it's like circles on circles on circles, and I kind of just love that shape. So we also went ahead and did the Mag Heirloom Signa because it also has a lot of curviness to it. So I'm just feeling like, you know, the curviness is kind of adding a little extra body. Now, I went with the Spore Ephemera because I felt like it was dark and broody. But I actually wanted to go ahead and put on a different ephemera because I know that some people like this style, and I have not showcased it much on here. But because of the fact that Lavos is a lot of different elements, right? You can put on a lot of different ephemera on him, and thematically it would work. So the Kaminari, I'm a bad Asian, I actually think works very well with the AO spec. See how the curvature kind of like links in there and it kind of sits over there, and then look at how like the draping of these things kind of like falls. It kind of falls well with the jacket. I think that that is a really, really cool look. You can even go ahead and swap that in with the Tomoe Signa. Like, I think that's really cool right there. Now, I was initially going to do something like that and then put on the Ito Prime shoulder pieces, but we're going to do this. Remember when I was talking about shapes and making sure that the shape felt like it did something for the body? I don't feel like that did anything. I don't feel like it did anything, right? I could take off the arterial tubes, and it does kind of have some synergy with the neck. Like, I do like how that's staggered and that's also staggered, but I didn't feel like it did as much as the AO specs did. So, you know, I felt like even if I was going to do this electricity look, that the electricity look would still be paired with the AO specs. So just keep that in mind. I like the shape of the body, and the body feels good. Let's get back to the Spore Ephemera. And I there's a part of me that's like, you know what, if I'm using the Spore Ephemera, I should probably go ahead and use the, what do you call this? I should probably go ahead and use the Nidus animation set on him. But we'll do that a little bit later. Another thing that you're going to notice, I have decided to use the VTAM Prime Syndana. So when it comes to things like this, right? When you choose your Syndana, make sure that you're choosing one based on the size of the Warframe. I love my Officium Syndana. And it pairs so well on a lot of different Warframes, but Lavos is such a chunky boy. He's got really big forearms. He's really been putting those to use, if you know what I mean. And so it's like it just doesn't sit well with his shoulders. So just make sure that you're pairing the right proportions with the right proportions. Now, let's talk about some other ephemera since we got into the ephemera. You guys know, and I mentioned this in my last video, I usually will toss on something like the Seraphire ephemera. And to some degree it works, but I also use the Seraphire ephemera a lot to like bulk up Warframes that don't have the bulk. Of course, we already know that Lavos has the bulk, so he doesn't necessarily need it, so now it's just additional noise to all of the other things that's going on him, and I think he's already got enough going on as it is that he doesn't necessarily need that. Another one that you guys have probably seen me go a lot off into is the Protovire, right? But I just use the basic one. But his body shape just doesn't fit well with it. Again, this is kind of like a lesson in making sure that what we're using is accentuating the frame. We're not just tossing things on blindly, right? I even wanted to see what the Okuri tails look like, but it just did not fit with the jacket. So make sure you're using things that like actually suit him. And it's weird because I've been kind of leaning on things that I don't usually go into, like the Purified Bloom. I kind of just love how it sits on its back. It's just kind of like, it's just like an additional layer. I also don't usually like the Sanguinax, but I think because he's got so much body that it really like fits him. Gloriana is always gonna look good, but it's still pretty tight onto the body. I was gonna mention something and I don't think I can say it out loud, so I'm not gonna say it. It's something dirty. We'll leave it at that. And I like the Braum Prime Ephemera because it does give that snake thing, but he's just a big boy. So you see it, but it's like not too much, which might be good for some people. We're going to stick to the Spore for this look anyway, and then we're going to swap him over to Mr. Nidus because I just feel like it's right. Like it just feels right for this, right? Yeah, it does. Maybe I'll swap all of them into the Nidus. Who knows? All right. Last but not least, I've rambled enough. We're going to be talking about the last look, which I did not think I was going to put together. I really just stuck to the first two looks, and I was good, and I was done. And then something, it just inspired me to do this. And I'm going to take off the, I'm actually going to take off the ephemera real quick so that you can see the coloration. because I actually really just love the coloration on its own. I was thinking, all right, well, you know, if I'm gonna put together like a last look, what would the last look be? I was thinking Viper. We already had the Mirage, like Year of the Snake skin, so I kind of wanted to pull some colors off of that. So I went ahead and went with this kind of like cool green metallic tone. And initially, it was gonna be green on like gold or like green on a different version of green, which would have totally been fine. Let's take a look at some of the variations. So I was actually going to go for something like maybe in the Dojo, which I think is still really pretty. Ooh, wrong one. Wrong one. Is it? Is it? Yeah, it is. Oh, I'm looking. Oh, I'm in the armor set. That's why. There you go. Let's go into the Dojo. So just keep in mind, this is another metallic. So I was actually going to go with something like greeny and goldy like that, which I think is very, very pretty. But it's actually a nice lesson where you can contrast warm and cool together to create a nice little pop. Of course, we're not going anything too wild like that, which I actually was initially thinking of, and now that I'm looking at it, it doesn't look half bad. I just don't like how the texture picks up on that red, so that's a different option for you too. So, I mean, this is another strategy for Lavos. If you want to go completely monochrome, and then just pick out a single feature to drop a nice pop of color in, you can do that as well. And then you can have something that looks kind of classy, but we're gonna go into the Rot palette real quick, and I'm gonna show you the different variations that I was trying to go for. You know, I never ever type anything out. I just kind of like look at this. But look, you can do a contrast of a cool green, which is that cool green metallic, with a like warmer green. So it's a nice little pop, or you can even like just deepen it up, right? Deepen it up to make it nice and deep and dark. So there's different variations on this. So I always say try a little monochrome, add a little splash of color here and there. And then last but not least, oh, of course we had to put on the rhino horns. So that's from the Rhino Heirloom Signa. There's a bunch of like many of the Signa are gonna work really, really well with him. I think he looks great with the Kiro Signa, which is available now in the Belly of the Beast, right? Am I crazy? The Envine was actually going to be the first one because I really liked it with the armor set. Notice, and this is another thing that I believe we talked about in the comments of the previous video, is that we actually, I don't like covering up too much of the chest. I like the little open chest where we can see that detail because it is a very, very pretty detail. Now, this is actually the Spirius, but I just used the regular Spirius because, like, sometimes too much is too much. And I feel like that's a little much. It's pretty, but sometimes you got to be able to say, you know, maybe we don't do all of it. So I'm just sticking up with a regular Spirius ephemera just to kind of give it a cool kind of glow. You know what I mean? As for armor sets that I've played around with on this, he takes a lot of them pretty well. It's just all about, again, shape. The Atavist I was actually playing around. Stop. The Atavist I was actually using, and it's a half decent shape. If you actually want to take off the tubes and kind of give him something a little bit more sleek, I would give a thumbs up on the Atavist. I just would not cover the chest. I did like the Ito. But again, I didn't really feel like it was doing very much for his shape. Fracta was a weird one. I couldn't make up my mind as to whether I wanted to use the Fracta on him or not. Unfortunately, there were several other ones that I usually go to, like the Kritma, that I really, really like from the Tenno Gen. I didn't think that fit well. The Namor, I love the color that this picks up. I think it's so pretty, but I just don't feel like it sits well on his shoulder. I feel like it sits nicely on his chest, sits nicely on the leg, but when you put it together with the shoulders, the shape that it overall comes out with, it did not feel right. So I did not end up using it. The Avia or the Avia, I actually thought looked really cool and kind of fit into the fact that I feel like his helmet looks a little raptor-y. So try that one out. But for this one, we're gonna stick with the Anasa. So that is going to do it for my customizations. I think the only thing that's left to do is to swap out the skins and see how it fits on the bodies, right? Are we going to do that? Oh my god. Oh, I hate it. I really hate the original Lavos skin. I feel like the coloration of this one actually looks kind of nice on the Lavos skin, but the Lavos skin does not look good. Oh my god. So, the Lavos skin, I don't feel looks great with it, just because of the textural differences. But the Yersin skin, which is the doc... Oh! Oh!
There's a time
wait, hold on.
available.
Is it me or does that look kind of nice? Hold on, we're gonna do a little... Oh! Oh, wait a second. Oh, hold on. Oh. Do I kind of like that? Maybe I need to take off the armor real quick. Oh, y'all gotta play with that one, okay? Hold on. What if we do a little... Here's it. Okay, the helmet, not so much with the horns. But I think, like, the body kind of, like, looks good with the color, too. And with the tubes on the back. Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna do one thing. What if we do a little bit like this to make it like rustic like? I don't know, you guys tell me what you think. I think that it looks kind of cool with it. So that's a nice thing to know. I'm gonna go ahead and just swap it back over to the original so that we don't have to worry about anything. Anyway, that about does it for me for now. Let me know how you guys feel about these color combinations down in the comments below. Let me know if you felt like you got anything. If you felt like you got any inspiration from this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. But that about does it for me for now. So as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your body. I need to go eat. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.